emergency from heaven. God says, you only have 5 minutes left to hear this. A life-changing event is already in motion. Don't make the mistake of skipping this. Open now before 11:57 p.m. This is not a casual message. This is not background noise for your day. This is a divine interruption. There are moments in history when heaven breaks protocol, when eternity leans into time, and when God refuses to let his people continue unaware. This is one of those moments. You did not click on this by accident. You did not stumble here randomly. Something inside you felt the urgency. Something inside you sensed that this was different. That inner pull was not curiosity, it was confirmation. When heaven declares an emergency, it means something has already begun. It means the gears of destiny are already turning. It means that in the unseen realm, movements are taking place that will soon become visible in your natural life. God is not reacting. He is revealing. And the reason he is revealing is now is because mercy always announces itself before major change. The phrase "you only have 5 minutes left" is not about panic. It is about priority. It is about focus. It is about eliminating every distraction and recognizing that what you are about to hear carries weight. 5 minutes can change everything. 5 minutes can alter a decision. 5 minutes can shift a relationship. 5 minutes can redirect a destiny. And when God compresses time into a warning, it is because the window to respond is narrowing. There are people who will scroll past this. There are people who will dismiss this as exaggeration. There are people who will say, "I'll watch later." But later is not promised. Later is the greatest thief of opportunity. The enemy does not need to destroy you if he can delay you. He does not need to attack you if he can distract you. That is why the instruction is clear. Don't make the mistake of skipping this. Because what is already in motion cannot be reversed, but your position in it can still be secured. This is the difference between being prepared and being caught off guard. The phrase "open now before 11:57 p.m. carries prophetic weight. Why 11:57? Why not midnight? Because 11:57 represents the final moments of mercy before transition. It represents the space between warning and fulfillment. Midnight is when the shift happens. Midnight is when cycles close and new chapters begin. But 11:57 is grace. It is the final call before the door moves. It is the loving voice of God saying, "I am giving you time. I am giving you awareness. I am giving you one more opportunity to align." Heaven does not shout without reason. When urgency increases, it is because timing matters. Right now, something is unfolding. You may not see it yet. You may not feel it fully. But in the spiritual atmosphere, there has been movement. Conversations you don't know about. Decisions being made. Doors aligning. Doors preparing to close. Spiritual battles being fought on your behalf. The life-changing event already in motion is not random chaos. It is divine orchestration. And whether it becomes a blessing that elevates you or a lesson that shakes you depends on how you respond in this moment. God does not issue emergencies to frighten his children. He issues them to protect them. He issues them to position them. He issues them because he loves them too much to let them remain unaware. If you are hearing this, it is because you are being invited into awareness. This is your warning and your rescue at the same time. Some emergencies are destructive, but this emergency from heaven is redemptive. It is a divine wake-up call wrapped in urgency. Ask yourself honestly, have you felt a shift lately? A restlessness? A sense that something is about to change? That is not anxiety. That is discernment. That is your spirit recognizing movement before your mind can explain it. And now heaven is confirming what your spirit has already sensed. You only have 5 minutes left to hear this, not because God is harsh, but because God is precise. Timing in the spirit is exact. When the window is open, you must step through it. When the invitation is extended, you must respond. This is why skipping this would be a mistake. Because information changes perspective. Perspective changes decisions. Decisions change outcomes. And outcomes shape destinies. What you are about to receive in this message is not casual inspiration. It is instruction. It is alignment. It is preparation for what is already set in motion. The clock is not meant to scare you. It is meant to focus you. The urgency is not meant to pressure you. It is meant to awaken you. Before 11:57 p.m. symbolizes that there is still time, but not unlimited time. There is still mercy, but not indefinite delay. There is still an open door, but it will not remain open forever. Heaven is speaking clearly. Pay attention now. Listen carefully now. Align quickly now. Because when the appointed moment arrives, the shift will happen whether you are ready or not. And the truth is, you were meant to hear this. Out of millions of voices, you heard this one. Out of countless distractions, you paused here. That is not coincidence. That is calling. This emergency from heaven is personal. It is intentional. And it is critical. What comes next will reveal exactly what this life-changing event is and why your response in these next moments matters more than you realize. The countdown has already begun. This is not a future warning. It is not a distant possibility. It is present. It is active. It is unfolding even as you hear these words. In the spiritual realm, timing does not move randomly. It moves according to divine appointments. And when heaven announces that you only have 5 minutes left to hear this, it means the clock is not starting now. It has already been ticking. There are moments when the atmosphere shifts quietly. Nothing dramatic on the surface. Low thunder. No visible sign. Yet internally, spiritually, something changes. You may have felt it in recent days. An unusual pressure. An unexpected opportunity. A sudden confrontation. A door that seemed stuck now slightly opening. Or perhaps a door that was once open beginning to close. These are not coincidences. These are indicators. They are evidence that movement has already started. The danger in moments like this is distraction. The world is loud. Notifications never stop. Responsibilities pull at you. Doubt whispers. Logic questions. And in the middle of all this noise, the most important voice can become faint. That is why urgency matters. When God says, "You only have 5 minutes left to hear this," He is cutting through every competing sound. He is saying, focus. This matters now. Because what is already in motion will not pause for your convenience. Some people will miss this window because they assume there will always be another one. They believe opportunities repeat endlessly. But spiritual timing is different from routine cycles. There are kairos moments, divinely appointed windows, that do not return in the same form. When they pass, and those who hesitated are left wishing they had responded when the signal was clear. This is not about fear. It is about awareness. It is about recognizing that preparation must happen before the visible shift, not after. You may wonder, what exactly is counting down? It is alignment. It is positioning. It is readiness. The life-changing event already in motion is approaching a visible stage. Think of it like a storm forming far out at sea. At first, the sky looks normal. The waves seem calm. But meteorologists already see the pressure building. They see the pattern. They see what is coming long before it reaches the shore. Heaven sees the full pattern of your life. And this warning is your forecast. There are testimonies of people who felt a sudden nudge to pray when they did not understand why. Later, they realized it protected them from unseen danger. Others felt led to make a decision quickly, an apology, a phone call, a step of obedience, and that single act redirected their entire future. The difference between those who stepped into breakthrough and those who missed it was not intelligence. It was response. It was sensitivity to timing. Right now, you are being given information ahead of impact. That is mercy. That is love. That is divine protection. But information only helps those who act on it. The countdown has begun, and heaven is not trying to alarm you. It is trying to align you. This is your moment to examine your heart. Are there things you have been postponing? Conversations you have avoided? Instructions you sense but delayed? The clock does not wait for comfort. It moves according to purpose. And here is something powerful. The fact that you are still listening means you have not missed it yet. The window is still open. The invitation is still extended. But this is the moment to lean in, not drift away. If this message is stirring something in your spirit, if you feel that inner confirmation that this is not random, then respond actively. Don't stay silent. Engage with what heaven is doing. Take a moment right now to like this message if you feel the urgency rising in your heart. Share it with someone who may be on the edge of missing their own divine timing. Leave a comment declaring, "I am ready," as a public act of alignment. And if you have not already, subscribe to this channel so you remain connected to these prophetic alerts when they are released. This is not about numbers. It is about positioning yourself consistently where clarity is spoken. When you engage, you are not just supporting content. You are declaring attentiveness to what God is saying in this hour. The countdown is not meant to intimidate you. It is meant to awaken you. Every second that passes is another reminder that destiny does not stall. The life-changing event already in motion is moving toward its appointed moment. Whether it feels like promotion, correction, restoration, or separation, it will bring change. And change always reveals who was prepared. This is why you cannot afford to treat this casually. The difference between those who rise in moments of shift and those who struggle is not luck. It is readiness. It is obedience in small moments before major transitions. The clock is ticking, yes, but it is ticking in your favor if you respond now. Because what comes next will uncover the consequences of ignoring this warning, and the power released when you choose to listen. What happens if you ignore this? What happens if you hear the urgency, feel the stirring, sense the weight of this warning and still decide to move on as if nothing was spoken? This is the question that cannot be avoided. Because every divine warning carries two paths, the path of response and the path of neglect. And the difference between the two is often invisible at first, but undeniable in the end. Ignoring a heavenly alert does not always cause immediate collapse. That is what makes it dangerous. Sometimes life continues normally for a while. The sun still rises. Conversations still happen. Routines remain intact. But underneath the surface, something begins to shift. Alignment drifts. Sensitivity dulls. Opportunities quietly pass by. The tragedy of ignoring a divine moment is not always instant loss. It is gradual distance. Distance from clarity. Distance from protection. Distance from timing. There have always been people who mistook mercy for delay. They assumed that because nothing dramatic happened immediately, the warning was unnecessary. But warnings are not proof of disaster. They are proof of love. When God signals urgency, it is not to control you. It is to cover you. It is to shield you from walking blindly into a moment that requires preparation. If you ignore this, the life-changing event already in motion will not stop. That is the reality. The gears are already turning. The decision points are already forming. And when the visible manifestation arrives, it will reveal whether you were aligned or unprepared. Ignoring does not cancel what is coming. It only determines how you experience it. There is also a deeper consequence: spiritual desensitization. The more a person overlooks divine nudges, the quieter those nudges become. Not because God stops speaking, but because the heart stops responding. Sensitivity is like a muscle. When exercised, it strengthens. When neglected, it weakens. And the most dangerous place to be is not under pressure. It is in indifference. Indifference is silent drift. This is why the urgency of "you only have 5 minutes left to hear this" carries weight. It is not about literal minutes alone. It is about recognizing that responsiveness must be immediate. Delay is costly. Hesitation narrows options. Obedience expands them. When heaven compresses time into a warning, it is highlighting a decision point. And decision points define seasons. Ask yourself honestly, how many times have you felt prompted to act but postponed it? How many times did you sense a shift coming but dismissed it because it felt inconvenient? Ignoring this moment could mean missing the preparation needed for what is approaching. It could mean stepping into a shift without clarity. It could mean facing change without stability. But here is the hope: awareness changes everything. The fact that you are hearing this means you are not locked into the path of neglect. You are standing at a crossroads with information. And information gives you power. Power to choose attentiveness. Power to choose alignment. Power to respond before the visible impact arrives. There is a difference between fear and holy urgency. Fear paralyzes. Holy urgency mobilizes. Fear says hide. Holy urgency says prepare. What you are feeling right now is not panic. It is invitation. It is heaven saying, step closer. Lean in. Do not drift away. Because what is coming next requires readiness. And here is the retention you must hold in your spirit. What is about to be revealed next exposes the exact event already moving behind the scenes. The details matter. The instruction matters. The timing matters. What you hear next will clarify everything. Before we move forward, this is your moment to seal your response. Type "I receive the warning" in the comments if this resonates with you. Blessing code 639 is now activated. As you declare it, you are not participating in a trend. You are making a spiritual statement. You are choosing alignment over indifference. Now, let this settle in your heart. Ignoring this is not neutral. It tilts you toward unpreparedness. But responding positions you for protection and elevation. The choice is still in your hands. The clock is still showing mercy. The window is still open. What comes next will reveal why this timing is so precise, and why 11:57 p.m. is not just a number, but a prophetic threshold. As this warning echoes in your spirit, understand this: every message like this is a seed being sown into thousands of lives across the world. When you choose to support this mission through Super Thanks, membership, or PayPal using the link in the description or the QR code on your screen, you are not giving to a channel. You are watering a harvest of souls. Scripture declares, "Give, and it shall be given unto you." And this is not distant history. This is God speaking directly to you now. When you sow into prophetic ground, you participate in spreading light where darkness tries to settle. I believe there are viewers right now thinking, I want to help this word reach more people. This is your moment of obedience. As you give, may open heavens respond, may oil flow over your household, and may provision chase you down. Step into this act now and seal your response with action. Now we step into what you have been sensing since the beginning, the life-changing event already in motion. This is not speculation. This is not imagination. This is movement. Something has been authorized in the spirit realm concerning you. A shift has been scheduled, and whether you feel ready or not, it is advancing toward visibility. When heaven initiates movement, it often begins invisibly. Seeds grow underground before they ever break the surface. Contracts are drafted before they are announced. Battles are fought in silence before victory is declared publicly. In the same way, this life-changing event has been forming beneath what you can see. Conversations have aligned. Timelines have intersected. Circumstances have been rearranged. What feels sudden in the natural has been developing for far longer than you realize. This event carries weight because it will redefine something fundamental in your life. For some, it will be a repositioning. For others, it will be a revealing. For others still, it will be a separation from what has quietly held you back. Change is rarely comfortable, but it is often necessary. And when change is initiated by God, it is purposeful. It is precise. It is intentional. There are moments when God accelerates what has been delayed. Years of stagnation can break in a single season. Doors that would not open suddenly swing wide. But acceleration requires readiness. If promotion arrives without preparation, it overwhelms. If exposure arrives without maturity, it destabilizes. That is why this warning came first. The announcement of urgency is the mercy before manifestation. For some listening right now, the life-changing event already in motion involves elevation. You have been faithful in quiet places. You have endured unseen tests. You have questioned whether your obedience mattered. And now, a lifting is forming. Recognition, opportunity, expansion. But elevation also exposes. It reveals what is solid and what is fragile. That is why your alignment in this moment is critical. For others, this event is correction, upliftment of correction, a redirection away from something that would have drained you long-term, a closing door that feels disappointing at first but protects you from deeper regret. Sometimes what looks like loss is actually preservation. Sometimes what feels like rejection is divine rerouting. The event in motion may not look the way you expected, but it carries purpose. There is also a third dimension to this shift: revelation. Hidden truths coming to light. Clarity replacing confusion. Motives being exposed. Illusions dissolving. When revelation arrives, it can be unsettling, but it is liberating. Because you cannot move forward effectively while walking in partial vision. The life-changing event may uncover what has been concealed so that you can finally step forward unburdened. Understand this clearly: what is in motion cannot be stopped by doubt. It cannot be delayed by fear. It has already passed the point of cancellation. But your experience of it can still be shaped by your posture. If you resist, it may feel turbulent. If you align, it will feel directed. Alignment does not remove challenge, it provides stability within it. This is why the timing matters so much. 11:57 p.m. represents the final moments before transition. You are not at the beginning of the shift. You are at the edge of its unveiling. Think of standing at the shoreline before a wave reaches your feet. You can see it forming in the distance. You cannot stop it, but you can brace yourself. You can plant your feet. You can decide whether you will be knocked over or carried forward. There is also something deeply personal about this event. It is not random global movement. It is tailored to your season. It intersects with your decisions, your relationships, your obedience. That is why heaven addressed you directly. You only have 5 minutes left to hear this. Because once the event becomes obvious, instruction will no longer be theoretical. It will be reality. Right now, in this moment, you are being given a preview, a glimpse, a preparation phase. That is an advantage. Many people only understand the shift after it has already disrupted them. You are being told beforehand so that disruption becomes direction. The question is not whether change is coming. It is how you will stand when it arrives. Will you stand anchored in trust? Will you stand positioned in obedience? Or will you stand wishing you had paid closer attention when the warning was clear? The life-changing event already in motion is not designed to break you. It is designed to transform you. But transformation requires surrender. It requires willingness. It requires attentiveness. And as we move into the next part, you will understand why the specific timing of 11:57 p.m. is not symbolic alone. It marks a spiritual threshold that separates preparation from manifestation. Why 11:57 p.m.? Why not midnight exactly? Why not an earlier hour? Why does this warning carry such a specific time stub? Because in the spirit, details matter. Heaven does not speak carelessly. When a precise moment is highlighted, it signals that timing itself is part of the message. Midnight has always symbolized transition. It is the dividing line between what was and what will be. One day closes, another begins. It is the silent threshold where yesterday loses authority and tomorrow takes control. But 11:57 p.m. is different. It is not the strike of change. It is the final breath before it. It is mercy extended in minutes. It is the last opportunity to adjust before the shift becomes irreversible. There is something powerful about those final 3 minutes before midnight. They are quiet, always unnoticed. Most people are distracted, tired, or unaware. Yet those minutes carry weight because once they pass, the calendar turns. In the same way, spiritually, there are moments when God allows a short window of awareness before a season closes. That is what 11:57 p.m. represents. Not panic, not fear, but precision. You are living in a threshold moment. The life-changing event already in motion is approaching its visible stage. Midnight represents manifestation, but 11:57 represents preparation, and preparation determines experience. Two people can enter the same new season. One thrives, the other struggles. The difference is rarely the event itself. The difference is whether they use their 11:57 wisely. 3 minutes may not sound like much, but in critical moments, 3 minutes can determine outcomes. A delayed decision, a postponed action, a hesitation that costs opportunity. When heaven says open now before 11:57 p.m., it is saying do not wait for visible evidence before you align internally. Do not wait until circumstances force adjustment. Choose readiness before reality demands it. There is also another layer to this timing. 11 represents disorder just before divine alignment. It is one step short of 12, which represents completion and governance. So 11:57 carries the symbolism of being on the edge of completion, but not quite there. It is the tension before resolution, the pressure before breakthrough, the silence before announcement. Some of you have been feeling that tension. Things have not been chaotic, but they have not been fully settled either. You sense that something is about to finalize. Conversations feel heavier. Decisions feel closer. Situations feel like they are reaching a conclusion. That is because you are standing in your 11:57 moment. The clock is not against you. It is informing you. This is why ignoring this timing would be costly. Because once midnight strikes, the environment changes. After midnight, the door that was open for preparation becomes a doorway into consequence. Whether positive or challenging, midnight magnifies what was prepared at 11:57. If you aligned, midnight feels like promotion. If you delay, midnight feels like pressure. Understand this clearly. 11:57 p.m. is not about superstition. It is about spiritual awareness. It is about recognizing that heaven gives warnings before fulfillment. It is about seeing the kindness of God in highlighting a final adjustment period. You are not being rushed. You are being readied. Think about how often people wish they had known before something happened. If only I had seen it coming. If only I had prepared. That regret does not have to be yours. Because you are being told in advance. You are being given insight before impact. That is rare. That is valuable. That is protective. There is also urgency in the phrase "open now." Opening requires action. It requires intention. You cannot accidentally open something. You must choose to. And what are you opening? Your heart. Your focus. Your obedience. Your readiness. Before midnight, there is still flexibility. After midnight, momentum takes over. This is the mercy of 11:57 p.m. It allows you to reposition. It allows you to pray intentionally, to release what you have been holding, to make the call you have postponed, to forgive what you have delayed forgiving, to step into obedience where you have hesitated. These small adjustments at 11:57 create stability at midnight. The life-changing event, already in motion, will not ask if you are comfortable. It will arrive because it was scheduled. But comfort is not the goal. Alignment is. And alignment must happen before the visible shift. Right now, imagine the clock approaching midnight. Each second carries weight. Not because disaster is coming, but because transition is inevitable. And transitions favor the prepared. They elevate the attentive. They stabilize the obedient. 11:57 p.m. is heaven's kindness. It is the final whisper before the announcement. It is the gentle knock before the door opens fully. It is the pause that allows you to inhale deeply before stepping into a new chapter. And as we move forward, you will see why distraction is the greatest threat in these final minutes. Because what tries to pull your attention away now is not random. It is strategic. And now we must confront the trap. Because whenever heaven releases an urgent message, something else immediately tries to compete with it. The greatest danger in a threshold moment like this is not open rebellion. It is subtle distraction. It is the quiet voice that says, "This can wait." It is the inner shrug that treats urgency as exaggeration. It is the trap and make people spib. Distraction is rarely loud at first. It does not announce itself as sabotage. It appears reasonable, responsible, even practical. You may think, "I'll finish this later. I'll come back to this tomorrow. This feels intense. I need to think about it." But delay is often the enemy's most effective strategy. He does not need you to reject the message. He only needs you to postpone your response. The problem with postponement during a divine countdown is that timing does not pause with you. While you delay, movement continues. While you hesitate, alignment opportunities pass. A life-changing event already in motion does not slow down because you feel uncertain. It advances according to schedule. And those who treat urgency casually often find themselves scrambling when manifestation arrives. Another trap is skepticism disguised as intelligence. The mind questions what the spirit recognizes. You may feel the weight of this warning, yet your thoughts argue against it. Am I overthinking this? Is this really that important? Maybe this is just emotional language. That internal debate can create paralysis. But discernment and doubt feel very different. Discernment brings clarity. Doubt brings confusion. If what you feel inside is clarity, an unmistakable sense of significance, then that is not manipulation. That is confirmation. There is also the trap of spiritual fatigue. Many people have heard messages before. They have felt urgency before. They have responded before. And when nothing dramatic happened immediately afterward, they became cautious, guarded, resistant to intensity. But past experiences do not invalidate present timing. Just because a previous season did not shift visibly does not mean this one will not. Each moment carries its own weight. And there is the distraction of comfort. Comfort is powerful. It convinces you that stability is permanent, that routines will continue unchanged, that there is no need to adjust because nothing appears urgent externally. But comfort is often the final layer before disruption. When everything seems normal, that is when vigilance matters most. Because transitions rarely announce themselves with alarms. They appear suddenly to those who ignored subtle warnings. The trap also works through overconfidence. Some may think I am prepared. I do not need to pay close attention. But preparedness is not a one-time achievement. It is an ongoing posture. Even the strongest structures require maintenance. Even the most faithful hearts require recalibration. Assuming readiness without reflection is risky at 11:57 p.m. And then there is the simplest trap of all, scrolling past. Treating this as just another video, another voice, another alert among many. But not every message carries the same weight. Not every moment is equal. There are ordinary days, and there are appointed days. There are routine hours, and there are threshold hours. When heaven emphasizes urgency, it is marking the hour as significant. Why does the enemy fight for your attention so aggressively in moments like this? Because attention determines direction. What you focus on shapes what you prepare for. If your attention is captured by noise, you will prepare for nothing. If your attention is captured by urgency, you will align with purpose. The battle right now is not over your salvation. It is over your sensitivity. You may have noticed unusual distractions since you began listening. Interruptions. Wandering thoughts. A sudden urge to check something else. That is not random. It is resistance. Because clarity threatens confusion. Awareness threatens complacency. And readiness threatens missed opportunity. But here is the powerful truth. The trap only works if you cooperate with it. Distraction requires participation. Skepticism requires agreement. Delay requires consent. You have authority over your focus. You have control over your response. You can choose to lean in rather than drift away. This moment demands intentionality. Close the mental tabs. Silence the competing voices. Treat this as sacred time. Because when 11:57 p.m. approaches, every second matters. Every adjustment matters. Every decision matters. The trap tries to convince you that this is optional, that nothing significant hinges on your attentiveness. But that is not true. The life-changing event already in motion intersects with your obedience. It meets your posture. It amplifies your preparation. Skipping this would not cancel what is coming, but it could reduce how effectively you step into it. Right now, you are still within the window, still aware, still capable of alignment. The trap has been exposed, and exposure weakens it. Once you see distraction for what it is, it loses power. As we move into what comes next, you will discover the specific instruction hidden within this warning, because urgency without direction would be incomplete, and heaven never warns without providing a path forward. Urgency without instruction would only create anxiety, but heaven never releases urgency without direction. If God says, "You only have 5 minutes left to hear this," it is because there is something specific you must do with what you are hearing. The warning is not the destination. It is the doorway. And now we step into the instruction hidden within this message. First, the instruction is alignment. Alignment means bringing your thoughts, decisions, and actions into agreement with what God is revealing. It means no longer living on autopilot. It means pausing long enough to ask, "Lord, what in my life needs adjustment before midnight?" Because 11:57 p.m. is not just symbolic time, it represents the closing moments of grace before transition. Alignment now prevents regret later. Alignment often begins with repentance. Not dramatic guilt, not shame, but honest correction. Repentance means turning. It means recognizing where you have drifted and choosing to recalibrate. There may be attitudes that have hardened, habits that have quietly grown, compromises that seem small at first but now feel heavier. This is the moment to bring them into the light. The life-changing event already in motion will magnify whatever is rooted inside you. If peace is rooted, peace will multiply. If chaos is rooted, chaos will surface. So the instruction is clear. Clean the foundation before the building rises. Second, the instruction is release. You cannot step into a new season while clinging to the old one. Some of you are holding on to expired relationships, outdated mindsets, or familiar fears. You know they no longer fit where you are going, yet you hesitate to let them go because they feel safe. But safety is not always destiny. Comfort is not always calling. Before midnight strikes, there must be a willingness to release what cannot cross into the next chapter. Third, the instruction is obedience in small things. Many people wait for dramatic guidance, but heaven often tests readiness through simple steps. Make the call, send the apology, finish the task, start the prayer routine. Rearrange your priorities. Small obediences build spiritual momentum. When the larger shift becomes visible, those small obediences will anchor you. There is also an instruction of focus. What you meditate on in these final minutes matters. If you focus on fear, fear will expand. If you focus on trust, trust will stabilize you. Guard your thoughts carefully. The enemy knows he cannot stop what is coming, but he will attempt to distort how you perceive it. Do not allow negative imagination to overshadow divine intention. The life-changing event is not designed to destroy you. It is designed to position you. But your perception determines whether you resist or receive. Another instruction hidden here is preparation through prayer. Not rushed words, but intentional conversation. Speak honestly. Ask for clarity. Invite correction. Invite courage. Prayer aligns the heart with heaven's rhythm. When midnight arrives, those who prayed at 11:57 will feel steady. Those who ignored prayer may feel shaken. The difference is not favoritism, it is preparation. There is also a call to examine your motives. Why do you pursue what you pursue? Why do you avoid what you avoid? When transitions happen, motives are exposed. If your actions are rooted in pride, insecurity, or comparison, the shift will feel threatening. But if your actions are rooted in obedience and humility, the shift will feel purposeful. Now is the moment to purify intention. You may be wondering, how do I know I am truly aligning? You will feel a sense of internal clarity replacing confusion. You will feel a sober peace, not emotional excitement, but steady confidence. Alignment does not always feel dramatic. Often it feels simple, decisive, alien. Remember, you are not being warned to run. You are being invited to stand correctly. You are not being told to pack. You are being told to prepare. Preparation is powerful. It transforms uncertainty into anticipation. It transforms fear into focus. And here is something critical. Do not wait for perfect understanding before you act. Sometimes instruction must be obeyed before it is fully explained. Trust that if heaven took the time to alert you, heaven will also sustain you. You are not stepping into midnight alone. You are stepping into it informed. Right now, take a mental inventory. What needs adjusting? What needs releasing? What needs beginning? The instruction is not complicated, but it is urgent. The 5 minutes represent concentrated opportunity. The final moments before 11:57 p.m. represent focused grace. Because when midnight comes, and it will come, you will either say, I am ready, or I wish I had listened more carefully. The choice is still open. A window is still unlocked. The instruction has been revealed. And what you are about to hear next will confirm whether you were divinely guided to this message, and why some were chosen to encounter this warning at this exact moment. There is a reason you are still here. Out of all the voices you could have listened to, out of all the content you could have consumed, you remained with this message. That is not coincidence. That is selection. Because every urgent call from heaven reaches many ears, but only settles deeply in the hearts of the chosen. And this part marks the turning point. The turning point is not when midnight strikes. The turning point is when you decide to respond before it does. The chosen are not identified by perfection. They are identified by responsiveness. When urgency rises, they do not mock it. They lean into it. When conviction stirs, they do not silence it. They honor it. That is what separates the passive from the positioned. You may have felt it from the beginning, a pull that said, this is for me. Even if you could not explain it logically, something inside you recognized the tone. That recognition is spiritual alignment. The life-changing event already in motion is not random movement. It is connected to purpose. And purpose always calls its participants before it manifests publicly. There are signs that confirm you were meant to hear this. One sign is discomfort with stagnation. If you have felt restless in a place that once satisfied you, that is a signal. Another sign is heightened awareness. Situations that once seemed normal now feel significant. Conversations carry more weight. Decisions feel more urgent. That sensitivity is not anxiety, it is discernment sharpening. Another sign is divine interruption. Have there been delays that redirected you? Closed doors that frustrated you at first but later protected you? Unexpected pauses that forced you to reflect? Those interruptions were not accidents. They were positioning mechanisms. Heaven sometimes blocks your momentum temporarily to align you permanently. The turning point also involves courage. Because once you recognize you are chosen for this moment, responsibility follows. Awareness requires action. You cannot return to ignorance after clarity arrives. You cannot pretend you did not sense the shift. The chosen are those who accept responsibility for what they know. And here is the deeper truth. Being chosen does not mean being exempt from challenge. It means being entrusted with timing. It means being given insight before impact. While others may react in confusion when the visible shift happens, you will respond with preparation. That is the advantage of awareness. This is the moment where doubt tries one last time to interfere. It whispers, maybe this is not about you. Maybe you are over-spiritualizing this. But the consistency of this message, the weight of its timing, and the persistence of your attention say otherwise. The turning point is happening internally right now. You are moving from observer to participant. And as this realization settles in, understand something powerful. What you are about to hear next seals everything. The next revelation connects the urgency, the timing, and your identity in a way that removes all ambiguity. You will see why the clock, the warning, and the instruction converged at this precise moment in your life. You will be glad you stayed for what is about to be revealed. Before we move forward, this is your moment to mark the shift. Type "I am ready for the turning point" in the comments if this resonates with you. Blessing code 842 is now activated. As you declare it, you are not just typing words, you are stepping into agreement with your assignment. You are acknowledging that you were not drawn here accidentally. The turning point for the chosen is subtle but powerful. It is when fear loses authority. It is when hesitation releases its grip. It is when clarity outweighs confusion. And it often happens quietly, inside the heart before it ever becomes visible outside. Right now, something inside you is settling. A seriousness, a focus, a decision forming. That is the turning point. Midnight has not struck yet, but internally, alignment has begun. And when internal alignment happens before external transition, the outcome changes. You are not here to panic. You are here to prepare. You are not here to be overwhelmed. You are here to be positioned. The chosen do not escape change. They step into it ready. And as we approach the final warning before the window closes, everything you have heard so far will crystallize into one clear understanding. Timing is not random, and your response determines how the next chapter unfolds. As you step into this turning point, understand that this message reaching you is part of a greater river flowing to thousands who are also standing at their 11:57 moment. When you activate Super Thanks, join membership, or so through PayPal using the link in the description or the QR code on your screen, you are pouring oil into that river so it never runs dry. The word declares that when you sow beside many waters, your harvest will not fail, and that promise is alive right now. I know there are some of you thinking, I feel called to fuel this mission. That thought is not random, it is invitation. Your giving becomes light in someone else's midnight. As you release your seed, may open doors respond, may protection surround your household, and may divine acceleration locate you. Act now and seal this turning point with obedience. This is the final warning before the window closes. Not the first alert, not the second reminder. The final one before 11:57 p.m. becomes midnight. Everything that hath been spoken until now has been building to this moment. Because once the clock crosses that threshold, preparation time shifts into manifestation time, and manifestation does not wait for hesitation. You have been told that a life-changing event is already in motion. You have been shown that 11:57 p.m. represents mercy before transition. You have uncovered the traps of distraction and the instruction of alignment. Now the question becomes urgent and personal. Will you act before the window closes? Divine deadlines are real. Not because God is impatient, but because seasons are structured. There are appointed times for planting and appointed times for harvest. You cannot plant after harvest has begun and expect the same result. In the same way, you cannot prepare after manifestation has already arrived and expect the same stability. The final warning exists because heaven desires your readiness, not your regret. There is a difference between hearing and responding. Many hear. Few act. Many feel stirred. Few shift their behavior. But the ones who treat the warning as sacred instruction are the ones who walk into the next season anchored rather than anxious. This is your opportunity to be among them. The window is still open. That is the mercy. But it is narrowing. That is the urgency. The subtle tension you feel right now is not manipulation. It is timing pressing against delay. The longer you wait to adjust, the heavier the adjustment will feel later. Small corrections now prevent major disruptions later. What does action look like in this final warning? It looks like decisiveness. It looks like removing what you already know does not belong. It looks like initiating what you have postponed. It looks like closing doors that compromise your peace. It looks like strengthening the disciplines you have treated casually. The final warning is not complex. It is clear. Some of you are standing at the edge of a conversation you need to have. Others are standing at the edge of a commitment you need to make. Some are standing at the edge of releasing something that has quietly controlled you. This is the moment. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Before 11:57 p.m. spiritually becomes midnight in your life. Obedience unlocks instantly. When you respond in alignment, clarity follows. Peace follows. Direction follows. But when you ignore the final warning, confusion increases. Pressure intensifies. And what could have felt like promotion begins to feel like panic. This is not about fear of punishment. It is about awareness of timing. The life-changing event already in motion will intersect with your obedience level. If you have aligned, it will feel like stepping into position. If you have delayed, it will feel like being forced into reaction. The event does not change, but your experience of it does. There is still grace in this moment. Still opportunity. Still time to respond. That is why this warning is being spoken with clarity. Because once midnight strikes, explanation will no longer be necessary. Reality will speak for itself. And now, before we move further, this is the moment to anchor your response publicly. Share this message with someone who needs a final wake-up call before their own window closes. Like this video if you feel the weight of what is being said. Comment below, "I will not miss my moment," as a declaration of readiness. And if you have not yet subscribed, do so now to remain positioned for timely warnings and divine insight. When you engage, you are not supporting content. You are declaring that you refuse to sleep through spiritual shifts. Here is the retention you must carry carefully. What happens after 11:57 p.m. will reveal who treated the warning seriously and who treated it casually. The next revelation will show you exactly what changes once the clock crosses into midnight, and why some will call it breakthrough while others call it disruption. The final warning is not loud by accident. It is clear because clarity removes excuses. You will not be able to say you did not know. You will not be able to claim ignorance. You were told. You were prepared. You were invited to align. Right now, the window remains open. But windows close quietly. There is no dramatic sound when the opportunity passes. It simply shifts. And those who hesitated feel the difference immediately. You still have time, but not unlimited time. You still have grace, but not indefinite delay. The final warning has been spoken. Midnight is approaching. What changes after 11:57 p.m.? Everything shifts, not because the clock itself holds power, but because the season it represents reaches fulfillment. Midnight is not noise. It is transition. It is the moment when preparation time ends and manifestation time begins. And once manifestation begins, adjustment becomes reaction rather than intention. After 11:57 p.m., the hidden becomes visible. What has been forming quietly in the spiritual realm steps into tangible reality. Conversations that were building behind the scenes come to the surface. Decisions that were being shaped internally become announcements externally. Movements that were subtle become undeniable. The life-changing event already in motion no longer feels theoretical. It becomes personal. For those who use their 11:57 wisely, midnight feels like confirmation. There's peace in their spirit even if circumstances move quickly. There is steadiness even if change feels intense. Why? Because they aligned before the shift. They corrected before exposure. They prepared before pressure. When midnight comes, they recognize it, not as a threat, but as fulfillment. But for those who ignored the warning, midnight feels different. It feels sudden, overwhelming, disruptive. Not because it is meant to harm them, but because unpreparedness magnifies change. The same event can elevate one person and destabilize another. The difference is not favoritism. It is readiness. After 11:57 p.m., doors finalize. Some doors open permanently. Others close definitively. There is clarity where there was once ambiguity. Decisions that lingered in uncertainty settle into resolution. Relationships shift into defined directions. Opportunities either expand or pass into someone else's hands. Midnight clarifies. There is also a spiritual acceleration that takes place. What felt delayed suddenly gains speed. What seems stuck begins to move. Momentum increases. And momentum requires stability. If your foundation was adjusted at 11:57, acceleration feels empowering. If your foundation was neglected, acceleration feels chaotic. Midnight also reveals character. Pressure exposes what comfort concealed. If humility was cultivated, it shines. If pride was hidden, it surfaces. If faith was strengthened, it stabilizes. If doubt was entertained, it intensifies. The shift does not create character. It uncovers it. Understand this clearly. What changes after 11:57 p.m. is not God's intention towards you. His intention has always been purpose and protection. What changes is your environment. The conditions around you adjust to match the season ahead. And environments test alignment. There is mercy even in midnight. Even after the shift begins, grace remains. But the type of grace changes. Before midnight, grace prepares. After midnight, grace sustains. Conversion grace whispers instruction. Sustaining grace strengthens endurance. Both are love, but they operate differently. This is why the final minutes mattered so deeply. Because once the window closes, learning happens through experience rather than warning. And experience can be heavier than instruction. Heaven preferred to instruct you first. After 11:57 p.m., you will notice heightened clarity. Things you once questioned will make sense. Patterns will reveal purpose. Delays will reveal protection. And certain disappointments will reveal redirection. The fog lifts at midnight. The full picture begins to form. But there is also separation. Midnight divides seasons. It separates what was temporary from what is lasting. Some connections will not cross into the new chapter. Some habits will not survive the shift. Some comforts will dissolve because they were only meant for a previous phase. This is not loss. It is refinement. The question is not whether midnight is coming. It is whether you will meet it prepared. Because once it arrives, the narrative changes from get ready to move forward. And forward movement waits for no one. If you responded during 11:57 p.m., if you aligned, released, repented, and focused, midnight will feel like stepping into position. It may still challenge you, but it will not confuse you. You will sense direction. You will feel anchored even when circumstances evolve. But if you resisted, if you delayed, if you treated urgency casually, midnight will feel like being pushed rather than guided. And pressure feels heavier when preparation was ignored. This is not spoken to intimidate you. It is spoken to finalize clarity. Because midnight is not the enemy. It is the marker of fulfilled timing. It is proof that seasons move according to design. Right now, you are standing at the edge. The shift is close enough to feel. The atmosphere is tightening. The final seconds before midnight are heavy with anticipation. But anticipation can either be fear or expectation. And the choice is determined before the clock strikes. After 11:57 p.m., what was forming becomes visible. What was worn becomes evident. And what was prepared becomes powerful. And in the next part, you will see the reward reserved for those who responded before the shift, because readiness does not go unnoticed, and obedience does not go unrewarded. There is something powerful about responding before you fully understand. There is something rare about aligning before the evidence appears. And there is something deeply honored in heaven when a heart chooses obedience over hesitation. That is why this part matters so much, because there is a reward for those who respond now. The reward is not always what people expect. It is not always instant wealth or effortless ease. The first reward is clarity. When you respond during your 11:57 moment, when you adjust, release, repent, and prepare, you receive clarity that others do not have. While others scramble to interpret what is happening at midnight, you recognize it. You discern the movement. You understand the shift. Clarity removes panic. It replaces anxiety with awareness. The second reward is peace. Not surface-level calm, but anchored peace. The kind of peace that remains steady even when circumstances change quickly. Because when you have aligned before the transition, you are not surprised by it. You may still feel the weight of responsibility, but you are not destabilized. You are rooted. Peace becomes your internal environment even if the external environment accelerates. Another reward is protection. When heaven issues a warning and you respond, you position yourself under covering. It does not mean you avoid every challenge. It means challenges do not consume you. You move through them with guidance rather than confusion. You step around traps that others fall into. You avoid unnecessary losses because you listened when instruction was clear. There is also the reward of acceleration. When you obey in small moments before midnight, momentum increases after midnight. Doors that might have required struggle open with alignment. Opportunities that once felt distant begin to move toward you. Connections form. Timing aligns. Acceleration is not about rushing. It is about divine synchronization. You move at the speed of purpose rather than the pace of fear. For some, the reward will look like elevation. A role you did not expect. A responsibility that stretches you. Recognition that confirms your faithfulness. But elevation feels different when you are prepared for it. Instead of insecurity, you carry confidence. Instead of pressure, you carry readiness. The reward of preparation is stability and promotion. For others, the reward will look like separation that brings relief, a situation that quietly closes, freeing you from long-term strain, a relationship that transitions, allowing healthier alignment, a door that shuts so a better one can open. Sometimes the greatest reward is not what enters your life, but what exits it. There is also the reward of spiritual maturity. Responding to urgency strengthens discernment. It sharpens your sensitivity to timing. It deepens your trust in divine instruction. The next time heaven whispers, you will recognize the tone more quickly. You will not hesitate as long. Growth is its own reward. And do not overlook this. There is a reward in confidence. When midnight arrives, and you realize you prepared during 11:57, something shifts inside you permanently. You learn that obedience works. You learn that warnings are mercy. You learn that timing matters, that confidence carries into future seasons. The life-changing event already in motion will not bypass you if you responded. It will meet you. And when it does, it will confirm that your attentiveness mattered, that your focus mattered, that your willingness to take this seriously mattered. Heaven does not ignore responsiveness. Even when others misunderstand your urgency, heaven sees it. Even when others call it overreaction, heaven calls it wisdom. And wisdom carries reward. Right now, some of you can already feel the shift internally. A steadiness forming, a resolve strengthening. That is part of the reward. The internal shift precedes the external one. When your heart aligns, your path stabilizes. You did not stay through this message by accident. You did not lean into the warning casually. You felt the weight, and you chose to listen. That choice has consequences, but they are good consequences. Protective consequences. Empowering consequences. Midnight is not meant to frighten those who prepared. It is meant to elevate them. It is meant to reveal that the urgency was kindness, that the warning was love, that the timing was intentional. And as we move into the final part, everything will come together, not with fear, but with assurance. Because the same God who warned you is the same God who walks with you into the next chapter. And now we come to the final assurance. The urgency has been spoken. The warning has been delivered. The instruction has been revealed. The timing has been explained. But above all of it, above the countdown, above 11:57 p.m., above the life-changing event already in motion, there is one truth that must settle in your spirit. You are not alone in this transition. An emergency from heaven is never sent to abandon you. It is sent to position you. If God says, "You only have 5 minutes left to hear this," it is not because He desires to frighten you. It is because He refuses to let you walk blindly into what is ahead. The warning was mercy. The urgency was protection. The clarity was love. As midnight approaches in your life, whatever that midnight represents, understand this. The same God who alerted you is the same God who will sustain you. He does not warn and then withdraw. He prepares and then walks with you through the shift. The life-changing event already in motion is not outside of His control. It is under His authority. You may still feel the weight of what is coming. That is natural. Transitions carry weight. But weight does not equal destruction. Sometimes weight signals importance. Importance means purpose. And purpose means you were considered when this season was designed. Look back at what has happened in your life recently. The subtle restlessness, the internal stirring, the sense that something was shifting beneath the surface. Now you understand. It was preparation. You were being aligned quietly before the visible change. That is assurance. The clock reaching midnight is not the end of you. It is the end of one chapter and the beginning of another. Chapters close so that stories can advance. And your story is not concluding, it is progressing. The urgency was never about loss. It was about readiness for advancement. There is also comfort in knowing that you responded. You did not ignore the warning. You did not scroll past it. You leaned in. You examined your heart. You considered your alignment. That responsiveness matters. Heaven honors attentiveness. If there were areas you adjusted during your 11:57 moment, trust that those adjustments will stabilize you now. If there were things you released, trust that space was created for something better. If there were steps of obedience you initiated, trust that momentum has already begun forming. You are not stepping into midnight empty-handed. You are stepping into it informed. You are stepping into it prepared. You are stepping into it covered. And even if uncertainty lingers, remember this: clarity unfolds in stages. The warning gave you awareness. The shift will give you understanding. You do not need to see the entire path to take the next step. You only need to trust the one who revealed the timing. This is not a message of fear. It is a message of faith. Faith that timing is intentional. Faith that warnings are mercy. Faith that preparation produces peace. Faith that obedience unlocks protection. As this chapter closes, let assurance settle deeper than urgency ever did. You were chosen to hear this because you are capable of handling what comes next. You were alerted because you are trusted with timing. You were positioned because you are called to move forward, not backward. Midnight is not darkness, it is transition. And transitions are where growth accelerates. You are moving into growth, into clarity, into positioning. Now seal this moment with declaration. Type "I step into my NEW season with faith" in the comments if this resonates with you. Blessing code 915 is now activated. As you declare it, you are marking the shift. You are confirming your readiness. You are aligning your voice with your obedience. Let peace settle over you. Let confidence rise within you. Let fear dissolve completely. The emergency from heaven was never meant to alarm you beyond measure. It was meant to awaken you fully. You have heard the warning. You have received the instruction. You have embraced the assurance. Now step forward. Midnight has meaning, but you have preparation. And preparation turns transition into triumph. As you step into this new season with faith, understand that this word did not reach you by accident. It traveled through prayer, time, and obedience to find you. When you release a super thanks, join as a member, or sow through PayPal using the link in the description or the QR code on your screen. You are sowing into open heavens so this message can reach countless others standing at their own 11:57. The Lord declares that when you give, it is pressed down, shaken together, and running over, and that promise breathes over you right now. I sense some of you saying, "I want to be part of spreading this light." That desire is holy alignment. Your seed becomes oil for the lamp that guides someone else through their midnight. As you act, may provision locate you, may favor surround you, and may every door assigned to your next season open with clarity. Step forward now and seal this word with obedience.